born on a dirt floor. I remember my dad taking my dad up there. You can still see the look on his face, you know. He goes, he said to me, you didn't do that, did you? So my mahi was in whanaapuni with Raukūmara Pae Maunga. I'm a project po. My hunting started to sway from being a hunter to becoming this kaitiaki. So I had to spin my whole thinking around and saying, look in the mirror and say, hey, listen here, you're taking more than your fair share. Don't you think it's about time you started gifting back? So if you ever had the opportunity to be that bird's eye view, you would see hundreds and hundreds of skeleton dead tōtara. But we sort of went to the front line with the T&80 and see our people. That wasn't easy. We're in dire straits. Our Raukūmara is an ecological collapse.
Kia ora. Welcome back to the Planting Seeds podcast. Today's episode, we sit down with Wiremu Wharepapa, also known as Wongie. He is a po within the kaupapa Raukūmara Pae Maunga, which is dedicated to restoring the well-being of one of the largest Ngāhere in the North Island that reaches from Te Whānau Apanui over to Ngāti Porou. Born and raised on the dirt floor in Te Kaha, Wongie grew up living with the land and guided by the mātauranga of his parents and the seasons. In this kōrero, we talk more about his upbringing, the troubled years he experienced, and the powerful and amazing mahi that they're doing with Raukūmara Pae Maunga. We also touch on dropping 1080, men's mental health, and a special moment with his pāpā that changed everything. Let's get into it. Ngā mihi. All right, tēnā tātou Planting Seeds podcast, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa. Thank you for being currently on this community series. So the mobile podcast studio is just getting hooked up to a truck, and we're going to be hitting different communities around the motu. The intention is to do that each week. And this week, to start it off, we're here in Omaio Coast. Sitting across from me is Wiremu Wharepapa. Kia koe. Matua tēnā koe. Thank you for coming on. And just want to pass it over to you. Pēhea, how are you doing?
Kia ora koe. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm excited. I'm Wiremu Wharepapa, known to most locally as Wongie.
Wongie.
And I don't mind being, you know, that's who I've grown up with, that name. So, and it's kind of stuck. So yeah, that's me from. It's just Wongie right across Whenua. There's only one Wongie in Whenua.
Yeah.
So, and that's me, bro.
Because when I was saying that I was coming down here, there was a few people that, you know, came through, and one of them was Jade King Hazel from Doc, and she sort of spoke about the kaupapa that you guys do, and she mentioned your name. And so when I was reaching out to people down here, I was like, oh, how can I get in touch? And they were like, oh, that's Wongie, you know, oh, that's Uncle Wongie. And so, you know, like, you were born and bred here, is that right? Like, you grew up here?
Yeah, I was born and bred in Maungaro. Yeah. My roots actually on whānau Rūtaia, but I was raised in Maungaro, whānau Kaiaio, born on just a dirt floor, I guess, you know, makeshift dirt floor, 2 batches and 8 siblings, mum and dad. So, so that's where I guess my what would you call it, my values come from that dirt floor. And come from the ahi that come from that particular, you know, especially when I was growing up next to the ahi, all that sort of type stuff. So, yeah, really, that's most probably the best years of my life.
Wow.
You know, and I think, you know, having a sugar bag for a curtain on the window, you know, which you can tell, you know, just by the wind coming through, you know. So I learned a lot about tawhiri matia and just being able
the elements
and the values. I think we were growing up with values, but I think you have to get down the line to understand those values, because you tend to just grow with them but not understand them until you get a lot older.
Wow. Can you speak a little bit more about that? You know, and it's because the way that I'm interpreting that is like when you're in something, you can't see the value in it, or you just don't really know what's really going on. But are you talking about after you go through something and then in hindsight, you sort of like see either why you are the way you are, or is it you see what has already been instilled in you? Is that what you're referring to, or is it something else?
Mate, I grew up on crayfish.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad was a crayfishman after he'd come back from South Africa in World War II. So, he was a crayfishman out of the coast there. So I grew up on crayfish. And that's quite a, at the time, that's a really rich life to most people.
Yeah.
The thing with it is, when you start having crayfish for breakfast, lunch, and tea for the whole season, it's not,
it's not much of a delicacy.
It's not much of a delicacy.
Yeah.
And then sort of during the winter months, when the crayfishing season had come down, so we lived on wild pork. So that's through winter, breakfast, lunch, and tea. But I think later on in the years, I realised that we were living seasonal.
Yeah.
As I'm growing, and that took a lot of years to understand that. I'd lost my parents, moved away from home, to find the honey and the gold and everything out there, but it didn't quite happen for me, so being young and, ended up in some places that I wasn't really proud of. And I ended up in the forestry. I moved back home in later years and I was cutting trees and big native trees. Metal, hino, ratang. And the bigger the tree, the better, because if you drop a tree and you drop it properly and you make it spin, you can take out other trees.
Right.
So I spent a lot of my years in the forest cutting down trees. But and then later on in the years, I was quite proud of that. But I remember taking my dad up there. And I said, Dad, come for a ride with me. Because where are we going? Well, I said, I'll show you what we've done. And we had cleared this whole big back of the native block in the back there. I can still see the look on his face,
Was it just sad or disappointed? Or
sad.
Yeah.
It wasn't a happy look.
Yeah.
And he goes, he said to me, you didn't do that, did you? I said, no, we done it. He said, no, tell me you didn't do that. So, it wasn't until years later I realised that, because I was brought up a hunter. I know everything about hunting. So, that was taught by my dad for us to get a kai and stuff like that. No different from anybody else.
Yep.
So, and I never forget the look on his face. In disgust, to be honest. Absolutely. It was a quite trip home, I tell you.
And were you going in there wanting to show him as a way of you sort of...
Well, I thought I had done a great job,
eh? And you were proud of it, eh?
Yeah, I was proud of it. I had been in a bit of trouble earlier, I was sort of trying to make up things.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this person.
Yeah.
This great big cutter.
That does a good mahi. That does honest
mahi,
work.
because I'm young.
Yeah.
I'm vibrant. I was fit. I was like, I was amped with ego.
Yeah.
You name it. I was all those things. A young man could, I was sharp. Well, I thought I was sharp.
Yeah.
But, I said, well, come on, Dad, let's go and have a look at this.
Check this out.
Yeah, check this out.
And that quiet trip home, eh? There was a lot of internal thoughts around,
It was a quiet trip.
Was that a shift? Did that create a shift in you in terms of what that meant? Or did it take a little while to further realise?
I created a shift. I had moved away, like I had, my kids and stuff, and I was doing a lot of stuff that I wasn't proud of doing. So
is this when you were in your troubles?
Yeah, my troubled days, young days. So I had moved my kids to Australia thinking that, this is the plan. I'm going to get away and make all this gold and live in a big flash house and drive around in a big flash car, and I'll come home and show everybody that I've made it.
Yeah.
I come home all right. But I
didn't bring the gold.
No, I didn't bring the gold back. I actually come home by myself.
Yeah. Tail between the legs, eh?
I missed home. I was in Australia for 10 years. I missed home every morning and every night. And there wasn't a morning and a night in those 10 years that I wanted to come home.
Wow.
I come back and I was working for the rail, Kiwi Rail up in Hamilton, and I got offered some mahi with Save the Kiwi. So I thought, wow, this is my opportunity. I don't really know a lot about Kiwis. I know a lot about the bush.
The bush.
That's one thing I've got going for me. So, this is an opportunity for me to go home. So I resigned from the Royal.
Wow. And so, thinking about what you know of the Ngāhere, I just went for my first hunt like literally a month ago or so, and it was just so awesome just to be out there and be detached from everything and just the peace and, just being just one with, I suppose. And so, thinking about your expertise, with the Ngāhere and just going back into those earlier years, what were some of those fond memories of you just, going out into the bush and, being, I don't know, like what were some of the learnings there or some of the things that you just took away from it that you still apply today?
I guess when I did come home, that's exactly what I thought I was going to do, go to the bush. But in my role, I didn't end up there for a long time.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I didn't go there.
Yeah.
So I didn't go anywhere near the bush. So my role was, my mahi is in Whanaapunui with Raukūmara Pae Maunga. I'm a project po. So I work across all the streams, whether it be deer gates, operations and engagement, mainly engagement. So, but I still knew, like I'd sort of missed the bush. And then I thought I knew everything about the bush, but I learned a lot more about the bush, and my hunting started to sway from being a hunter to becoming this kaitiaki. And there's a difference. So I was growing up to feed the puku. But I think, in your life, it's been a kaitiaki. You have to acknowledge what's already there. So we are the tanga. But the kaitiaki, they're the ones that are still standing there. So it's our mahi to go and awhi their space. So it was a massive big switch for me to think about the puku of Te Raukūmara and not my own puku.
Wow.
Because the puku in which that I took from, it was running out of gifts. It was collapsing. She was hungry and she needed nurturing. So it was a massive shift for me, and it was an easy one. So I had to spin my whole thinking around and saying, look in the mirror and say, hey, listen here, you're taking more than your fair share. Don't you think it's about time you started gifting back? And then it sort of moved along from there, and I guess I started thinking back to that dirt floor, my connection to Papatūānuku, the wind coming through the window, my connection to Tāwhiri Matia, the hole in the roof looking at the stars, my connection to the māramatata, my mum cooking the praoa in the kouta, the smell of her breast close to me. All these things started coming to place in my head. Atom, this is why you're here. You're not here to be taking all the time. This Raukūmara, this great landscape, this place where we whakapapa to, is collapsing because our selfishness is just take. How can we give back? No different to coming down here and going to Tangaroa and being able to just take at will. But how do we give back? So I had to sit back and have a really good think, and that didn't take much. So I am where I am.
Wow. So the thing that comes to mind is, just being a steward of receivership, and also of being able to look after and giving back, and there's that seems to be a theme of the people that I've spoken to over these last couple of days is the ability to be able to give, is the ability to be able to be in that space of service, and whether it's to the Ngāhere or whether it's to people, that seems to be something that's coming up. And so you getting into that particular space, there's been reflections of your upbringing. Do you feel that middle part where there were a lot of challenges, do you now look back at that and just feel that it was all necessary?
Yeah, I think it was just part of my life.
Yeah.
Like my life. I've always felt that I was I wasn't born an angel,
Mm.
but I've never really been a real bad person.
Mm.
You know, I've been a mischief person, but not a bad person. So I often reflect back to the trees that I cut down, you know, and I learned later on in the years that even things like the kiore, they would live in a tree and that would be their whole life.
Mm.
They would never, ever touch the ground because it's like a city up there.
Mm.
They've got their own little ponds, they've got their own little shopping centre. They go out there, the manu out there, the eggs, so they go and eat their birds' eggs, then their seeds, they grow at different times of the year. So those big, massive trees have a whole city of life.
Ecosystem
Whole
up there.
ecosystem in the one tree.
Mm.
So they don't know what being down there is like. So when we get to talking about the manu, you know, these introduced pests that have come along, you know, even our manu, you can imagine that living in a tree with things like stoats and cats, and if you can imagine that at night, you know, the noises that go on, you know, our manu have to constantly be on the move all the time, 24/7. And it's worse at night than it is during the day.
Mm.
So I think once you get an understanding of all that, then you can go in there and help, I suppose, in some way, you know, and it reflects back at you and why you're doing this mahi.
Mm.
Why are you doing this mahi for? Because now I've got a better understanding, you know. I've had to learn why. I had to learn, think back to my dad, to my mum, you know, the values that they had left with me. So.
And it's all kind of interlocking into the space and time that you're in now. And it's like, man, everything had like a purpose and a meaning. And now it's sort of helped you to be the person that you are now, doing this meaningful mahi and giving back, you know, to the Raukūmara. And, you know, for those who perhaps aren't aware of the Raukūmara Pae Maunga, can you please talk about, like, first the Raukūmara range and the kind of mahi that you're doing within the space to help restore?
So I guess the Raukūmara, you know, in my, it's sort of, you know, if you have a look at the map itself, you know, the Raukūmara comes from, there's a line from the Kermadec Islands, and it comes out off the East Cape there. So the Raukūmara is the biggest native contiguous forest in the North Island, from the mountain to the sea. So 200,000 hectares of collapse. So the Raukūmara is full of deer. Deer's a massive big problem in the Raukūmara. But even our own people have never seen a Raukūmara. So we're fortunate to see Raukūmara and be the voices for our people. But the Raukūmara range itself has a massive line of tōtara that are dying up there. So if you ever had the opportunity to be that bird's eye view, you would see hundreds and hundreds of skeleton dead tōtara that are along the top of the range. And that's because when the possum movement moved in there, now we have another problem. We've had a deer infestation. So the possums are climbing up the tree and just wiping everything out. And the deer are eating everything at the bottom.
Yeah.
So they're getting hammered. So you've got all your understories disappearing. So you've got big gaps and big holes in these big rangatira trees that are dying. Now the sun's coming through.
And not protecting.
And the ground is hard as. So when the next storms, especially with climate change the way it is, and man, when that water, when it builds up, it's traveling down those mountains. Raukūmara is huge. And the mountains are massive, straight up and down, vertical. And when that water gets a roll on and it hits those rivers, anything like the Motu or Raukōkare, it's charging it. And when it gets out onto the mouths, boom, it's out onto our moana. So anything in its path is going to cop it.
Yeah.
And you would have seen that down the East Cape.
Yeah.
Right? The Waiapu. And out here, the Kōkere, the Motu. So we've lost a lot of our kuku beds. We've lost a lot of our kaura.
Right, just from the
through suffocation.
Damn.
So it's really hard to try and find a day now to see if the water is clear, because now it's just silt. And you don't really have to have a paru waterway to see that. The rivers could be clear, but now it's the current. So on different phases of the moon, if the current rocks it, it just stirs everything up. And that's not the river. The river's clean.
Yeah.
But it's so full of silt outside our riverbeds now. So we're not only dealing with the Raukūmara there, we're dealing with the whole basin itself. Which is out to sea as far as Whakaari, right out to the back of the Ranfurly banks. So it's huge, and I think it's just trying to get that message across to our people that we're in dire straits. Our Raukūmara's in ecological collapse, so that's our mahi. That's what we do. And I'm really proud to be that person or work with people that really care. But I think to care, you have to have an understanding. And I'll always reflect back to the way I was raised.
Seasonal, that dirt floor. But to me, as you're sort of talking, it's just like I can feel something just welling up within me, but just how one thing is sort of like so deeply connected to the other thing. And one of the kōrero that I was first inspired by from a guy by the name of Maka Sakuhata Brown, a first mentor of mine, he would always talk about this analogy between the Ngāhere, and so ngā meaning many, and the here meaning the weaving. So he would call it a symbiotic relationship between things, which is what a Ngāhere is, And so a symbiotic is a relationship between one thing and another thing, and they all work together creating an ecosystem. And so when you sort of talk about that, when one thing is collapsing, that takes away from all of the other things that make it a Ngāhere in the forest. And so, you sort of like describing it, creating the visual impact of, the introduction of pest and like what that does to the whenua because the sun's going as far. It's actually quite, I saw it playing out, and you're in there each and every day probably and seeing is it getting better?
Well, we are in there now.
Yes.
So in 2020, Eugenie Sage flew in with a couple of Graham Atkins and Ray and Ricky Rangi and had a look. She was the Minister of Conservation at the time. So she was absolutely shocked because it was a mess. It's kind of like that forest tucked away and nobody wants to know about it.
Why is that? Is that just because of the scale?
I think the scale is a problem.
Yeah, how big it is.
The scale is a problem. The size of it. I think it's a big problem. It's tucked away on the east coast. Nobody really, unless you're in Te Uruwera right in the middle of things. This is quite rugged landscape in here. So I guess there's different, things, I suppose, that why that is. So we were lucky enough when COVID came along. So Jobs for Nature, put a plan together. A team of us had put a plan together, and some good people too, I must say. And so we managed to, land some of this funding from Jobs for Nature, $34 million to be honest with you. That might sound like a lot of money, but there's a lot of whenua out there that needs fixing. So we've got Ngāti Pro Whānau Apane working together. And once you have a look at the size of Raukūmara, it's still not quite enough, like not the money, but even the people itself. So we're dealing with, we had no infrastructure. So our team's sleeping underneath the tarpaulin. So we've got no infrastructure. We've got nothing really, to be honest. To be honest, we kind of had no idea.
Yeah.
I think we had no idea
just
about
knew something needed to be
size
done,
of the mahi that was involved. But we knew that something had to be done, So I guess with a lot of the pūtea, people always ask, so what happened with the pūtea? So it was, I thought we'd done quite well. So we had trained our people. We had skilled up our people. We had I was one of them. So we sent a team to Te Anau, which is Sparrowhawk training. So they teach you how to use rifles. Yeah. So when you got 14 Maoris walking through the airport in Christchurch with 308s all rifled up and allowed to do that.
Yeah.
That's very not heard of, really, and especially if they're all from the East Coast.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a proud moment for us.
Yeah.
So we're down there training with some of these ex-sniper SAS army. And then we also sent our aerial team down there. So we've got an aerial team.
Mm.
We've got a ground team, which hunt on the ground as well. And all their dogs are skilled dogs. So we've got 2 aerial shooters. We've got an operations team, and we've got an engagement team, and we've got education. So over between Ngāti Pro and Whanapane, we've got 37 employed between the 2 of us. So we're most probably, and we also done a 1080 drop as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of led myself and Orabalo with others, but we sort of went to the front line with the 1080 and our people. And that wasn't easy.
Nah, well, there's a lot of people out there who don't like 1080 though too, eh? Is that like...
I hate 1080.
Yeah, yeah. So what was the reason for pushing that from your fella's view?
1080 is just a tool.
Yeah.
You know, 1080 is a tool.
Yeah.
And...
because the pest or possums and...
it's a tool, and it's also an educational tool too as well. So, you know, I most probably was one of those that didn't want nothing to do with 1080.
Yeah.
And then I was most probably on the one that pushed the hardest. So it's just a tool. And I guess, you know, it's when you start, it's a little bit like me cutting the trees down.
Yeah.
Geez, I don't really know if I'm doing the right thing now. I already cut the trees down. Dad was upset. Now I'm going to go and bomb the place with 1080. So you have to think inside your head, like, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
So we went around the country. We went to South Island, went to Whanganui. We went to a few places and watched 1080 drops and started learning about 1080. And we believed that it was the right thing to do.
Was that for the benefit of the ecosystem?
The benefit of the Ngāhere and the ecosystem, So we didn't hold back. We dropped it right through the waterways. So there was an...
and does that poison the pest and more the deers and the possums?
We were targeting stoats.
Yeah.
We were targeting rats. We were targeting possums. Cats. You know, we knocked over a few deer. I think was probably about 8 deer. Yeah. In comparison to the 8,000 that's still running around in there.
Yeah.
So, and then we knocked over a few pigs. Not many though, really, to be honest, but we knocked the pigs back and then we knocked a few goats. Yeah. But we killed a lot of possum. Yeah. I mean, we killed hundreds. Yeah. And an example of, you know, the possums that we killed, because we had done all the pampas flats in the Motu and all those massive big flats, and that's what the possums were. So we just honed it. Yeah. And, it sort of caught us with our pants down, to be honest, because, you know, everything was going fine. And then we had a flood. Yeah. So these things were lying up there and they had blown up like balloons. So now they're floating down the river. Yeah. So over the beaches. And so we've got 600-700 possums all over our river, all over our beaches from here, all out here. All along the back here. Yeah. Right out to Opotiki. Far out. And hundreds of them. Yeah. You know, we've lost 8 dogs. Yeah. You know, to eating those possums. Yeah, far out. So we have to front there. Yeah. You know, so we were full on cleaning, you know, but it also gives you an understanding of how much possums are there. Yeah. Because what's come out, there's a small percentage
of what's actually in there.
It's actually in there. There's thousands. So, and I guess that's what our operations team, they do. We've got about 6 monitoring blocks in there. Yeah. And they monitor all the, you know, the rats, the possums, the plants, the birds, the everything, the growth. The growth, you know, the growth of the forest. Forest floors.
Man, it seems like
It's a massive mahi.
it seems like the things that are like killing the forest are doing well. They're thriving because they're in this abundant sort of like field that's like allowing them to sort of, do well, but it's at the detriment of the Ngāhere,
Absolutely. I mean, you imagine, for us down on the coast here, this being the first 1080 operation, and our people have never seen a 1080 operation. So there's a lot of pātai going on.
Yeah.
But when you get 3 helicopters coming over the hill, like, I've never been to Vietnam, and I've seen a few, but they thundered through the hills.
Yeah.
And I think our first drop of 1080, it's covered something like 40,000 hectares.
Far out.
So, and then the second drop, I think we were travelling from Whanaapu to Ngāti Porou and loading up there and flying back again. And that's a long stretch. So one helicopter in 5 minutes could do the job of a man can do in 3 years. Because their spread is 150. And they just lift up and they're just gone.
Dang.
Take out. But that's actually, it's an expensive process, but it was a money-saving process too.
Yeah, because
we've most probably killed more possums in a day than we've killed through trapping in most probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Yeah.
Everything comes to like a balance, you got to weigh it all up and see what's the best tool. And, and we've also got all our, we've done more water monitoring than Doc.
Yeah.
So they'll say, oh, well, you do, say, 12 monitoring sites. We'll double that.
Yeah.
Just to make our people aware, to ensure the safety of the waters.
Yeah. And is there anything like outside of like your guys' core team? Like, is there anything that, the public or people outside of the Raukūmara, is anything that people can be more aware of around how can people support, or is there things that I suppose can come from the outside, to receive extra support for what you guys are doing?
Well, it's funny you said that, because we actually travelled all over the country.
Right.
Before we even started anything, really. So in order for us to do well, we actually left home. We went to Raukūmara, we went right up north. We've been to Taranaki quite a few times, down to Kahununu. And we've been to all these, these kāhui dial programs, saying, oh yeah, we can learn from that. And we can pick that up and take it home and put it in our kete. Or, and that's what we had done. We had done that for about, well before the money drop.
Yeah.
The planning was already there to start schooling up.
Yeah.
We were living out of our cars and stuff like that, parking on the side of the road, having a sleep. And we were picking up these little, just going around, oh yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah. Oh, I don't like the way they do that. So we had learned from everybody. So there's, so just a big mihi to right across the country, for supporting us and for teaching us. But we are so skilled now that it's time, we've just received some pūtea from the government, from the minister. But
to keep the operations going,
It's time for us to start supporting others that need our help too, as well, because there's some projects out there that are not so lucky.
Yeah.
But we're more than happy to jump in and support them as well.
And,
give back to what they've given us. So.
Yeah. And so being out there, and doing the mahi that you have been doing, thinking about, their flow again, and one of the things that you said, you would have crayfish in the morning, and then you would have pork in summer, and so this was seasonal, and so this your dad and mama just being one with the taiao and, actually having that relationship, and so like, is that's sort of like where I wanted to get to with that.
Yeah, the old cliche, the old kina, hawaii, everything was mara.
Yeah.
I prefer it mara, I'm not into cooking things. We ate on the run.
Yeah.
But it gives you respect for tangaro. Years later, that, 200 years ago, our tuka would have been all covered in seaweed, but they're not now, So the utmost respect for Tangaroa, that's my connection, That's what my dad taught me. Tāne mā, the forest, all those, it taught me all about birds, following the food chain. I lived on kereru. I lived on, and I could track during the winter periods where each manu was, where the pork was, where the fat pork. We didn't hunt during the summer periods, nor did we dive during the winter period. Now I see people, and that's each to their own. Each to their own. But we were only allowed to dive when the kina were fat, when the pū, the kaupapa. When the middle, we didn't go out on the middle. When the middle ripened, we have to wait and give the middle time to really flourish, and then we go in on the middle. You'd see people, when they see the apple go red, they grab the apple, but it's not necessarily the way to do it. You got to touch the apple, and if it falls off, it belongs to you. No different from the middle or the hino, A lot of people, they look up to understand and look around. My dad always taught me, he goes, look down, boy, because that's where all your learning is. Because all the berries and all the leaves are on the ground. And the pig print's not up there, it's down there, and all these little things. So I'm always walking around in the bush like that. And if I see something, I'll look up, oh, yeah, there, If you look up all the time and you're walking around, you'll trip over. So those little things that I, and
listening.
Listen,
We have trouble with that. We have trouble with that.
Well, I just made it here. So.
That's right.
Listen, whakarongo. But when you're in the Ngāhere, and you sit there, and it's quiet, but if you sit there long enough, you can hear everything underneath the leaves moving around. Like, sort of, and it's even thing if you see a stick go, that's all right, because the wind's supposed to have blown it. It's when it moves back. Now, little tohus, wind on the back of the neck, all those sort of type things, snotty nose. I love the runny nose.
What do all those mean? What does the wind on the back of the neck or the runny nose?
The wind on the back is normally for us, it's a nor'east. So the weather's coming in.
Oh.
Yeah. The snotty nose is a hautonga, because you're riding into it. You got a beautiful day. Just little things like that, just where we are.
Yeah.
So runny nose,
It's going to be a beautiful day, eh?
It's going to be a beautiful day because it's coming down the river.
Yeah.
The wind be on your back. Don't stay in there too long.
Yeah.
So just, we just do it naturally now.
Yeah.
There's no real thinking about it.
Yeah.
You'll sort of just, I won't be staying up here.
Yeah.
Just little things like, there's so many things that everybody's different.
The taiao's always communicating, eh?
Normally, if you get into a pool and you see all the watercress or whatever, young watercress out there, and it's got a hole in the middle, e tuna. Yeah, because they come up and they clear a hole, and then they come down and they sit underneath it so the sun shines
comes
through.
in.
Yeah. So, just those little things, you could good tuna in there and just carry on going.
That
sort of type stuff.
Man, I went with my hoa when we went out into the Ngāhere, and it was just so awesome just to see how connected he was, and sort of speaking about similar tohu that he's received, and there is a there's a familiarity, like the more you do something, the more accustomed you are to something, you get familiar with like how to participate or build a relationship, You build a relationship with every part of it, and it was just cool to observe, and I took a lot of learnings just from my hoa who guided me through that whole process. And I think the cool and unique thing about being here on the coast anyway is that you have an abundance of kai right on this side of the road, and then you look over here and then you've got the Ngāhere right there. You're not just the sea people or Ngāhere people, you are like one and the same. And so do you think that is quite unique for you guys here on the coast as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it is. And we don't take that for granted. We've lived with that, and I see it every day, and I'm so lucky to be living in amongst that. I live right next to the bush, but I look at the sea from my veranda. So I'm very lucky, very fortunate, and I always go around the country and think, oh, what a beautiful place. But when I come home, I'm like, now that's a beautiful.
And it's always good coming home too, no matter how far away you've gone or whatever the kaupapa is, to come home, it's always a special thing, and to be in such a beautiful place is cool too. And like, can we spend a bit more time around like where the state of the ecosystem is as well? Because is there any more that you can sort of like mention about when the possums take from the tree and then the sun comes through, and like is there any more within that people can better understand, I guess, the state that the actual Ngāhere is in?
I think we have a problem. We've got a big problem. So we've got we've got a big deer problem.
Yeah. So too many deer.
So we only work inside what they call the PCL,
right,
which is public conservation land. And we do private blocks, but not a lot of them. Only if we've been asked to go onto those blocks. Now, when the 1080 come, we knocked over a lot of animals, like especially possums. Very, 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 very quiet with possums indeed. So the growth is coming away, and that's really beautiful, lovely. The trouble is the deer problem's there. So I think our aerial team's knocked over something. With our ground team, we've knocked over, say, 12,000 deer. If you imagine 12,000 deer and 12,000 deer pukus, and how much foliage they eat over that period of time, that's what they won't be eating, because they're not there.
Yeah.
But there's most probably another, say, 50,000 still there. So if we're working in an area and we can see recovery, we still got lands outside that area, which is the infestation. So a lot of the blocks that are around the Raukūmara are protected. So deer are not stupid.
They'll go.
So the helicopter comes, and then the deer hop over the fence. So our boys see hundreds of them, but they can't touch them. So therefore, they fly away and the deer back in. So the more the Raukūmara comes back, the more the deer come in from the outside. We can save so much, but we're kind of pushing a lot of stuff uphill. And then it's trying to work with, I guess, farmers too, saying, hey, listen, we can do this together, But then you've got, all the hunters that come in too as well. So they all, they want to do their hunting, and that's fine. Hey, I was a hunter. You've got to work things out, and can't take everything. So you've got that space too as well that we work with too. So there's a lot of
niggles, like little intricacies,
there's a lot of stuff around, but one thing we must think about the puku of the Ngāhere, of the Raukūmara. I think we must put the Ngāhere at the forefront of our minds, because if she fails, we fail. That's where all our rongoa comes from. That's where our connection is, our pito.
The sustenance.
Absolutely. The umbilical cord, all the rivers and the waterways, he paru. Why? Well, she's pakaru, so we have to replenish her. So there's the deer problem, and then there's the possums have been removed, which is great, but not completely removed.
Yeah.
But it's quite strange going in there and not hearing all the possum noises, you know, but they're there. But I think we were in there 2 weeks ago in the back of the Mātua, and I've never, ever in my life, and I've never, ever, even with my dad, seen so many birds. 30, 40 plus tui in the one tree. You know, and the kohuhu, you know, and the bush has just lit up, you know. And we've got to take that back and show our people, because not everybody goes in there. And then we've got to measure the waterways, you know, all our clarities and the health of the waterways and all this sort of type stuff. So, and then we're trying to protect our tonga species. Here, whiu, peka peka, you know, so we go in there, say 10 years ago, you'd be lucky to see a whiu. Now we've got something like about whiu and some really great numbers in there.
Cool.
And they're able to come out now because they're not getting chased by the states. The states are still there, but they can. Kiwi's another one. We've got kiwi recording kiwis. We're catching them on camera every day.
Yeah.
You know, these kiwi, they'd be something like about 70 years old. They'll be old birds, you know.
Yeah.
But at least they fought their way through life to stay alive.
Yeah.
So I guess there's
and that's the tohu though, is like when you're seeing manu return and you're like, that's when you're sort of like seeing the restoration,
Restoration, big numbers, you know, so we're really fortunate to be, because it's not just a walk up the road, you know, our team, they fly to work. They don't catch a truck or ride a horse. They hop in helicopter.
Because that's how big the landscape is to actually reach these places, eh?
And we drop them inside the middle, right inside the heart of the to work. So we're working in particular areas, especially the heart of it, and trying to get, I guess that's most probably one of the reasons why we monitor those spaces in the different area. So it's a lot of mahi, but it's rewarding.
Has there been any examples of failed ecosystems, of like ngāheres that haven't like been able to restore, or has there always sort of like been a team of people or champions for the taiao that have gone in there and sort of made things better? Or?
I'm not too sure about, we you know, for us, I think we've done really well, you know, extremely well, to be honest with you. We've got a really sharp team, and I guess we can be critical on ourselves. We're always trying to strive for better. Even our Ngāti Pare side, they're really strong, they're young. To be honest with you, I'm the oldest in the team, you know, and I don't mind strutting a few hills myself, but they're numbered. But we have a really young team, a good balance, you know, like I think we're yet to really hit our straps. You know, I think we're always critical on how well we do. But I believe that in the near future, put it this way, we're iwi-led, 100%. We're the biggest iwi-led in the country. We've led the biggest Indigenous 1080 drop on the planet. We're the biggest ungulate program in the country. So no, you know, like, and that's not patting ourselves on the back. We're just the biggest as Māori, you know, and we want all of us Māori right across the whole country. He kotahitanga. We can do this together. Not just whānau doing Ngāti Pro or Ngāpuhi by itself. If we need to come together across Aotearoa, that's exactly what the aim is. My thinking is we need to go worldwide. We need to go to Indigenous across Canada. We need to send our people to London.
Seeing what they're up to.
Seeing everything. We need to have a look. We're working with the Wallaby program up in Rotorua. We want to go to Melbourne and do some of the programs over there. We've already had some people come across. So we're spreading our wings, you know. We don't want to be just caught up on the East Coast.
Yeah, sure.
We want to be an example, leaders of us, all of us to be leaders in the same waka.
Mm.
You know, we don't want that little waka. We want our own waka.
Mm.
We want to paddle our own waka. The moment we're with pāpā atawhai, I will soon be rowing our own waka.
And is that a big thing to be iwi-led? Because other projects have like government or council. Is that while other spaces are running?
Yeah, I think that we all run differently.
Yeah.
We're a little bit manamoto hake down here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and we're not really whakarongo, you know?
Yeah.
We don't
Mahi.
obviously listen to too many people. We're our own captains and our own boat, you know? So we kind of play up a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but we got the Rawiri Waititi, we got the Rekirangi Cages, you know,
Yeah.
we got the Rob Ruhas, we got the Willy Wongs.
That's enough,
You know,
We go hard.
We got enough, we just go hard, you know.
Yeah.
And when they tell us what to do, we just turn the blind eye
Yeah.
and do what we want to do. So, you know, and we're teaching our people there.
Yeah.
You know, it
Because
belongs to us.
no one
you know.
knows the landscape better than their own
Well,
people.
you know, and then they might say, oh, that's, you know, conservation land.
Mm.
But we see it as stolen land.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm.
But our pitals are in there.
Mm.
So we'll do what we want. And we're going to get that back.
Yeah.
You know, you keep putting that in your head. You know, that belongs to us. Our tupunas walk through there.
Mm.
That belongs to us and we're taking it back.
Yeah. And we're bringing it back to life.
And we're bringing it back to life because we're the only ones that can do that.
Yeah.
Because we are the only ones that understand her suffering. You know, so.
And that's the great thing about, I guess, you know, there's been heaps of kōrero that I've had on this podcast. And one of those things is within the whakapapa and atuatanga, we are the younger sibling to the Ngāhere, to the trees, you know, to the durete and everything else. And so therefore we have to look after, you know, the older sibling. It's not the other way around. We don't have dominion over the Ngāhere, and that comes from kōrero, from Te Aorere Pē Whairangi. And he sort of like has, it's a relational thing. It's something we have to look after something, and as it's always looked after
have
you.
an obligation.
Yeah. And it's almost like, you know, these spaces such as the moana, such as, you know, the Ngāhere, the taiao, it's just naturally looking after you, but in the same sentence, it can really harm you if it chooses to, if you're in those spaces with the wrong intention, I suppose. And so like the other thing I suppose to finish us off here, Wongi, is, you know, thinking about, you know, those who aren't as passionate about the taiao, thinking about those who may not even know what the hell's going on here. Like, is there any kind of kōrero that can at least open the lid around, okay, just doing this a little bit better in your everyday life could contribute better to the moana or to the Ngāhere or to the taiao? Are there some of those things that come to mind?
Yeah, I think education is the key. And you're right too, you know, because we do have a disconnection. Because we've never really had a part of our Raukūmara, because it's been in the hands of the department. So they've had that for 50 plus years. So straight away there's a disconnection. So now that we've managed to get some funding, we've been able to connect back to her. But unfortunately, there's a big gap between those years. You know,
and damage had been done in
the
that time.
You know, it's a colonial damage, in my opinion. You know, a separation. It's a separation, and it's hard mahi to be able to teach our people. So I spend a lot of time trying to connect our people back to her. Otangon, you know, and the thinking that instead of standing on the hill saying, what are you doing diving down there? I'm the kaitiaki. Well, you are not the kaitiaki, you know, and get an understanding around that. So I'm always in those spaces.
Yeah. Relational.
You have to be patient, I think. Patience is the key, you know, especially for me, because I was that person. I always reflect to how I was, you know, So it's not for me to go and force this upon somebody else,
No.
but just to have an understanding. So the more education around kura, I spend more time. I believe that our tamariki are fine
Mm-hmm.
and our mokopuna are fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the parents.
Yeah.
That's where all the mahi is.
Yeah.
Because that's where the disconnection is.
Mm-hmm.
It's that level, not so much our tamariki.
Mm.
So and it's not their fault.
No.
I was that person. So yeah, we just got a bit more mahi, and we got to tread careful. Just steps at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get there. I believe we'll get there.
Cool. That's a good belief to have. Matua Wongi, and, the very last question, you've had a pretty colourful, start of your life, and, you're here now giving to the Ngāhere and giving to your kaupapa. And one of the big things that I like to explore here on this table is around mental health and, really specifically for tāne. And there's this concept that I share with guests, and it's called brother to brother. There's a lot of challenges that happen out there in the big wide world, and a lot of our tāne sort of like fall into holes and really struggle in many times and aspects, and whether that's within whānau, whether that's within mahi challenges or whānau, whatever it may be. And so I just want to pose a question to you, like whether you've been in that situation or whether someone's listening who is in that situation, what are some things that have either helped you, or what are some things that you've heard that have helped you in times that...
Only that, eh? Well, tapu tō. So it's funny you say that, because for a long time we have this waterfall. Takes 2 days to get to it. It's on our ara tūpuna, in between Whanaapuni and Ngāti Parau. So back in the days, 200 years ago, we weren't sitting around a table having a cup of coffee. So there's places in there, Kaki o te Moana, the last place you'll ever get to see the sea, maybe. There's a place down there called Whale Tapu Tō. So we would go across there and maybe not come home. They would do the same. But if we come home, we would go to this place called Whale Tapu Tō. Wai or Tapu Tō. So I've been going to this place for quite some years now.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I go there for my karakia, the first thing I say at the waterfall is, please forgive me for cutting the trees. Every time. When I went to Australia and I come back, I went to that waterfall. It took me 3 days.
Mm.
And I said, please forgive me for cutting the trees.
Mm.
The last time I was in there was with our whānau. We were going to Ngāti Parau, and I went back there. And I said, please forgive me for cutting the trees. Which is, now getting back to your question about young tāne. In my family, I have a lot of nephews.
Mm.
And I've spoken to them. I've lost some. I've got some in a wheelchair. Got some in some not very nice places. And I said to them, we go to Whale Tapu Tō, to the healing. This particular area, you got to climb into the waterfalls. So health and safety is out the window. You've got to climb up through the hills. There's no huts. You sleep on the rocks, and you head down this big valley into this waterfall down there. It's the most blessing and healing place I know on earth.
Mm.
I've been dreaming about taking all the tāne, and especially my nephews, to this particular place. I think you hit it on the head. We all need a healing.
Mm.
So when this mahi gets a bit heavy for me, I'm fortunate enough to say, listen, I'm not feeling right. And therefore, we're back in there.
You know where to go.
I know where to go. And it's just instant healing. You can't explain it.
Mm.
It doesn't just fall out. you've got it's just there. You can smell it. You can touch it, the mauri, the everything. You can feel it.
It's ignited, eh?
Vibrations, the goosebumps, the everything is there. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'll tell you what, I'm really, really keen on, and I've talked about it quite a few times, on making this place a healing for our men.
Cool.
And I love that because I see our woman leading us, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, but we're in trouble. How do we fix that? We go back to the Ngāhere.
Yeah.
In my belief. So I can only say, come with me. And I'm not going to fix you up. You fix yourself, but follow me. It's, and ever since, as I'm getting older, I'm really looking at my own, thinking to myself, follow me, follow me. I don't really, and that's most probably all that, for me. And you're right. I just, that's why I shook my head when you started talking about it, to be honest. Yeah, that's a big kōrero.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a big kōrero. It can, but it's a kōrero.
There's weight to it, eh?
Yes, it's a kōrero, and it's a beautiful kōrero. We can just make this happen. I'd love to be a part of it.
Oh, I'd love to be too. If you're ever going in there and you need a mate,
absolutely.
Please reach out to me. Please reach out to me, Matua. I'll be keen to come in there.
Absolutely.
I love those kinds of spaces, because the healing, and as well as just seeing the shift, especially like broken men to then having a moment of shedding tears and moments of forgiveness, and I think that's a huge part, like as you had your own intention, speaking to, the waterfall and just saying, forgive me for cutting the trees. I think that's a lot of what we carry as tāne, there's a lot of wrong that we've done and we failed to forgive ourselves. And so in turn, we hold a lot of resentment towards ourselves, which is then creating this state of being that struggles, makes it hard to actually, I guess, show up and do good things, I suppose. So that's part of it, eh? And when I look at healing, I go to the taiao quite a lot if I'm feeling some kind of way, whether it's like really heavy or even if it's just a little bit of something similar to you. I just know exactly what I got to do and where I got to go. And that's just leaning into our taiao and just allowing the taiao to support us in those ways by either going into the moana and just letting it sort of like cleanse you, or going into the Ngāhere and just being present in the breeze and in the smell. Even just standing up on the hill and letting the wind just sort of like brush past you. Like there's all tohu that can help us sort of like know that we're not alone. And I think that's a big part too. But just to share quickly around, I guess, a process of healing, just to add to that, is there's like stages, and we're in a state of despair or sadness or anger even, and we want to get to a place of like letting go, right? But that's such a big jump.
It is.
From being at rock bottom to being at least just above the line. And so the process that I help support people through is one, it's knowing where you are, and then we got to build into the next stage, and for me that's gratitude. Now the gratitude isn't to be grateful for what you have done, but it's to be grateful for the lesson that has come out of it. Because even if you've done wrong things, there's something good that's come out of it, because there always has to be. And so if we can lean into gratitude, then that can then lead into acceptance. It's like, okay, I've done wrong. There's something good in it. Now let me accept all of this. And then we lead into forgiveness.
Absolutely.
And then we can let go. But that can take a process of a week, a year, 10 years. Yeah. It's not just like a simple 4-step and do it in one day and it's all done. No, it's a process. And so I think the last part of that, or interjecting it, is actually doing things like what you said, is being involved in a group, going through an experience so that you can get rid of that residue, or you have opportunity to be vulnerable enough in yourself to share that around other people. And so I think there's something beautiful there. Matua Wongi, around, your whakaaro of what you've been thinking about for some time, and just seeing in your own whānau and your own realities around who could benefit from it. And I'm pono and saying that I'll be keen to be a part of that, in whatever capacity, whether it's just coming along or bringing people along, but be so keen to do that. And I was a performer for Tauira Mai Tawhiti, and so Uncle Ike would always talk about Te
me and
Arata.
Uncle,
Yeah.
It's funny,
Yeah.
me and him.
Oh.
Out together.
Oh, right, right.
So you're going to have to come.
Yeah. I will.
Get you lined up.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about this is you have to feel the hurt.
Yes.
You have to feel the pain. This is not a lollipop.
Mm-mm.
And if you can feel the pain, then you understand her, how painful she is.
Yes.
If you're not painful, then you're not feeling her.
Don't have compassion or understanding, eh?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stuff around there. So. Yes, but bikini.
Awesome. And so we've had an amazing kōrero. Last thing is, I've said that the last few times, but just over to you. If there's any parting kōrero that you might want to leave with the people who are listening for the podcast, I just want to give it over to you to finish us off.
Yeah, I think for me is I love what I do. I'm proud of the people that I work with. The project itself, Raukūmara Pae Maunga, is a massive project. We have some really good people in our project. Actually, both Ngāti Preo, my nan's from Tuparo, and my kraua is from here at Ōtuwhare. I'm just really proud of who I work with. I think they do an amazing job. There's so many people out there to thank. And I want to thank our people, both Ngāti Preo and Whānau Apanui, for supporting us, because without the people, you don't go too far from the smelly roses, So, everybody's been really helpful. It's just been really great, being amongst this mahi. I get to do something that my dad and my mum raised me to do, and I don't have to train for it because I was born into it. So, I'm very, very lucky, So, as most people go and get skilled up, I feel like, I think sometimes we have to look at ourselves as people, because there's so many of us around that have these skills come naturally. So, I'm just so over the moon about working for the Raukūmara Pae Maunga restoration project and be that po and that guided that person to be able to lead our people into this Raukūmara restoration.
Beautiful. Oh, tēnā koe Matua Wongi. Well, I'm glad you sort of missed the driveway and then turned around and come back and found your way here. Because it's been an awesome, uplifting, mana enhancing kōrero, because there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this and resonate deeply with the impact of being a steward for the taiao. As there are a lot of our people who are very much so about protecting, the taiao, and so they'll resonate deeply with us. And for even the people who are sitting on the fence and don't really know too much about what's going on, this is going to create massive insight around, some of the states that our Ngāhere are in, and being able just to plug in, and might not be able to plug in physically, but just to even be there and have an awareness around some of these things is going to shape how we show up and how we do things and interact. So, I just want to thank you very much for coming on, sharing your kōrero, and just being a koha for the Planting Seeds podcast and the mahi you do. So, tēnā koe, Matua Wongi. Ngā mihi. Main.